Love the hair flip. Stephen A. especially loves it. Fresh off the presses, everyone, here's Mel Kiper's first mock of the 2021 NFL Draft. Can't believe it's almost here. No surprise at number 1 with the Jags, taking Trevor Lawrence. Then 2 teams from the AFC East bulking up the receiving core. The Jets with Devontae Smith. Dolphins taking Jamar Chase. The next quarterback off the board is at number 4, Atlanta, taking BYU's Zach Wilson. And 2 more quarterbacks go in the top 10. Justin Fields to Detroit at number 7. And Trey Lance, number 8 overall, to Carolina. This is a record amount of quarterbacks going in the top 10 in a while. Mel Kiper Jr. Here he is right now joining us. Yes, Stephen A. Sure.
I apologize. Usually I'd let you lead off this conversation, but forgive me. I'm a bit agitated, Molly. I'm a bit agitated.
Why?
Mel Kiper Jr. was supposed to come in on this segment, Max and Molly, but he insisted on coming in on the last segment because he wanted to jump in on that Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre discussion, Green Bay Packers, right? And I recall during his brilliant soliloquy, because Mel Kiper Jr. is always brilliant, I detect a little bit of slippage there. Max, did I hear him correctly? Did Mel Kiper Jr. not say the wide receiver is not a big deal? They could have always gotten a wide receiver later on in the draft. But 2 of the top 3 picks
2 guys going
in
pretty
his
high.
mock draft are wide receivers. Can you explain that, Mel Kiper Jr.? How is it that all of a sudden that the wide receivers are so necessary in this draft at 2 and 3, but you just finished saying it's no big deal? You could get a wide receiver later on. Did you say that?
The things that you read into, Stephen A., is amazing. I didn't read anything. All I said was when they picked Jordan Love, last year, it made sense at the point where they took him over a wide receiver. Jordan Love is the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers, obviously there. But this year, you have an option. You need a corner as well. Keep in mind, there was a little bit of an issue covering Tampa Bay's receivers in that game from a cornerback standpoint with Kevin King, who could be moving on as well. So you think about corner, wide receiver. I got it. I'm with you. There's no question they could take a receiver, Terrace Marshall Jr., LSU, somebody like that, late first round. No doubt, Rashad Bateman, Minnesota would make sense. So I'm with you on that. But in terms of Aaron Rodgers, to me, this is completely different than what Aaron did with Brett. Aaron was 3 years sitting. Jordan is only 1, and it was an interrupted season. Obviously, it didn't even start normally with no preseason action, no preseason game. So I think it's premature for this whole Aaron Rodgers talk of him leaving Green Bay. Next year, maybe a different discussion. And in the game against Tampa, I think Aaron wants to come back. He had 3 shots to get that touchdown, didn't get it done. Come back with the Packers with an improved cast around you after this draft and free agency and have another opportunity to win that 2nd Super Bowl.
Good way to defend yourself, Mel. Stephen A. is like a hypocrisy hunter. He's always trying to call people out, holding old takes. The man remembers everything, even from the earlier blog. I don't know what's going on. I was a joke. I just said it.
Hey, Molly, it was fair. I bring Stephen A. on the Daria Mel show on Saturdays to talk about some of the things that I hear him say. So it goes both ways here. I'll get him, Molly. Believe me, I'll get him again.
Keep a notebook, Mel. All right.
I do as well.
Let's get to the first overall pick, though. Trevor Lawrence going to the Jags. Bottom line, what are they getting with that pick?
They're hoping a generational quarterback who's the John Elway, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck of this draft. It's been targeted to be number 1 since he was in high school. And, yes, he didn't play great against Ohio State or last year against LSU in the championship game. But this year he had lost 4 starting offensive linemen that were there the previous year, weren't there, and the 2 top receivers. So I think you look at Trevor Lawrence, he's going to be expected to be. Let's face facts. That's why Urban Meyer's their head coach. It's because of Trevor Lawrence. If he's not the number 1 pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars, Urban Meyer's probably not their head coach. So he's going there knowing that I got a head start on everybody with this generational franchise quarterback, Trevor Lawrence.
Getting back to Stephen A.'s point, because I think there's actually truth there, Mel. We've seen so many great wide receivers taken not high in the first round. Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, et cetera, right? You got 2 guys in the top 3, but Chase right under Devontae. Like, how good is Chase? Is there a big fall off between 2 and 3? Because you got them both in the top 3.
They're both elite, and they're both A.J. Green, Julio Jones, both out of the SEC. These two kids both out of the SEC. Right there, you talk to some people that like Chase, some people like Smith. What hurt Jamar Chase is not playing when Devontae went out and was spectacular and improved dramatically. Late one last year, goes back and becomes the second pick overall. Jamar Chase had played this year, it might have been different, but Jamar Chase sat out. Obviously, no Burrow, no supporting cast around him. Who knows what would have happened with his season? He is a great player. If you go back to 2019, Jamar Chase is spectacular. Devontae was unbelievable this year at Alabama. That's why I think he gets maybe that slight edge. But believe me, guys, this is 1 and 1A. This is a dual heat. This is too tough to call. This is another affirmed alley dar with Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase.
Listen, in your mock draft, you've got Zach Wilson at number 4 going to Atlanta. Why is that not Justin Fields there? Can you explain?
The overall season, Stephen A., is all it's about. And this is mock 1.0. It's not mock 5.0. So let's not write it in pen quite yet. Could change between now and then. There's still a process to play out. But Zach didn't have that hiccup. Justin Fields had a couple. The Indiana game, the Northwestern game, I'm not going to worry about championship game. He wasn't healthy. But the bottom line is Zach Wilson can spin it. He's athletic. He had an unbelievable year, granted against cupcake after cupcake. I said his sugar levels were awful high this year with all those cupcakes he was playing. But in terms of Zach Wilson, right now, just a slight edge over Justin Fields. And I think by the time we get to late April, may flip. Maybe Justin Fields is ahead of Zach. But right now, when you talk to people in the league, Zach Wilson just slightly over Justin Fields. I had one GM that I respect probably as much as anybody tell me Fields may go a little bit ahead of Wilson. But I went with Wilson just right now, that gut feel you have based on the consistency he had from the first game to the last.
Rounding out your top 5, you have Sewell, the offensive tackle, going to the Bengals, which makes sense. You have your quarterback. Now you have your blindside protection. How does he compare? I know Quentin Nelson's a guard, but that's the last guy who came out really high, and I was like, oh, my God, that's a franchise offensive lineman, right? How does he compare to a guy? I know there's slightly different positions, but both on the O-line. How does he compare to a guy like Quentin Nelson in terms of impact he can make right away?
You should think, Maxie, he was going to be like the old days with Orlando Pace and Tony Baselli and Jonathan Ogden and Walter Jones and Jake Long, all the great offensive linemen in those days were going 1-2 in the draft. And that's what Penei Sewell will be expected to be. You saw the signs in the stands at those Bengal games late in the year. They all want Sewell. They thought at 5 we probably won't get him. We need to pick 2, 3. Now we're at 5. Well, I think they can still get him possibly at 5 with those receivers and all those quarterbacks getting pushed up like they always do, particularly the quarterbacks. That's why Penei Sewell, an outstanding left tackle who opted out, didn't play this year, will be maybe the 5th pick overall to the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, Mel Kiper Jr., record-breaking 5 quarterbacks in his top 15. That's only happened one other time back in 1999. See, I'm keeping track, too. Mel Kiper, you're the best. We'll talk to you soon, sir.